Hi, welcome to Golden Years. I'm Lori Betts. This month I am interviewing Rebecca Rock from the Brunswick Police Department, and we are going to be talking about senior scams and different things that are happening in the city. So come on back.
There is nothing wrong with your television. We are controlling transmission. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to Brunswick area television.
Ready or not, here I come.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Hi, welcome back to Golden Years. I'm Lori Betts, and I'm interviewing Rebecca Rock from Brunswick Police Department, and she is their victim advocate. So Rebecca, tell me how you started in this position, and how long have you been in this position?
I started in 1998, actually as a court advocate for the Battered Women's Shelter. So I was a victim advocate trained through the Battered Women's Shelter, working in the different police departments to review reports and work with officers to help families who were dealing with family violence or domestic violence issues.
And we, the people, don't realize that all this goes on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wonderful, because when something happens to a victim, I mean, they're probably, number one, clueless, very upset,
Mm-hmm.
and they need someone like you to help them through it.
Well, and I'm privileged to be able to serve in that manner. When a person does have a major incident happen or something that's major to them, they go into crisis, and they are traumatized. It's very difficult to get through something that only happens in the movies. Like, you know, you get beat up, you get raped, you get mugged.
And it's not planned.
And it's not planned. It's just something that you're going along in your life, and all of a sudden it happens. So, you know, one of the things that I do at the police department is really help the victims understand what their options are, and that what they're going through and how they're reacting, not being able to remember things, not understanding where to go from point A to point B, and even circumventing the court, getting through the investigation phase, just being able to work with them and help them be able to cope better so that they get through the process without getting re-victimized. So that's why I love what I do. And one of the things that started happening probably about 9-10 years ago is we started seeing an increase in frauds and scams against the elderly in our community. And this happens countywide. And it's really sad after a person has worked their entire life and tried to build, you know, something for themselves so they can retire and relax. It's the beauty of America. We get to retire, we get to relax, we get to enjoy our golden years. But then other people come around and they just steal that from them. And it's just one of the things that has really been difficult to deal with, because oftentimes an elderly person won't want to come forward and say, this is happening to me.
Oh, definitely. Oh, sure. Because they think that, why did they choose me? You know, what did I do? It's sad.
And a lot of times they just don't understand it's happening, and by the time they find out, or the family member finds out, it's too late. So they've lost a lot.
Being in retail, you just sparked a question. I've had several elderly come in the store saying they have had their identity stolen. And it's just like, they were calm about it, but they said, you know, when it first happened, they're like, why me? How did that happen?
Yeah, 10, 15 years ago too, they didn't have many options. They paid the debt or they went bankrupt. Nowadays there are laws in place. There's the Attorney General has assistance programs for them. And it can happen to anybody. It doesn't have to be just the elderly. It can happen to anyone who has a credit card, anyone who spends any kind of money and has a bank account.
Thank God.
Yeah, so identity theft is really a difficult one, but it's really marketed heavily, so a lot of people know that. You know, they have the commercial with the big old beer-bellied guy driving a lawnmower with the little old lady's voice saying he really loves his lawnmower, and he stole her identity to get that lawnmower. So, you know, that's a common one that everybody knows about, but I would like to remind people to be protective of their private information. That's half the battle. but oftentimes their private information is obtained through the other scams and frauds that happen against them. So
It's just amazing how the thief, they come up with all these ideas, and we're all victims.
right.
And what about repairs? How do the phone calls come through about a repair? Like whether it's a outside in your house repair or even a computer. I hear there's a computer scam out there too, repair.
Yeah, the repair scams and frauds, I really don't like those because that is someone who is oftentimes face to face with the person and they're taking advantage of them. So if they're doing it face to face, they're probably coming to the door and saying, I see that your lawn needs cut, I see your trees need trimmed, I see you need some minor repairs on the outside of your house. Then the elderly person is like, oh, okay, I do need those. How much would you charge me? And they end up paying them. And if they use a check, sometimes they'll lose their identity that way. But if they pay them cash, the work doesn't get done. So it may only be $250 or $500 that they pay them. But on a senior citizen's budget, that can be the month's rent. It could be their food and their utilities. It could be their prescriptions. So it really affects them. So even though it's a smaller dollar amount, it affects them greatly. Now, if they are looking at car repairs, if they don't keep a good log and they're not working with their family to make sure that the repairs actually need to be done, sometimes there are people out there who will just keep saying, oh, look, you came in for a flat tire, but we noticed this needs fixed too. And you end up in this cycle of taking the car back and forth many times, and you've spent thousands of dollars on that car that you never needed to spend. So keeping a log on when you have done the repairs really helps you to be able to say, hey, well, maybe it's under warranty, number one. And number two, why does it need done again? And then talking to family members. I mean, there are simple things you can do to avoid from being taken advantage of for those types of repair scams and frauds.
Do you, I don't know how far you go into the family, the children of the elderly parents, but like if Mrs. Jones has a daughter from out of state, do you take their phone calls and try to, if they call and say, you know what, I think there's something going on with mom, you know, she's got all these people in and out of the house doing repairs. Do you take that phone call and help them through that?
The phone call will come into our dispatch center, and then the communication specialist will actually take it as a welfare check, where an officer can go out and talk to the person, or they can make a phone call just to kind of screen them. If there is an issue, then it can be forwarded to me, or if when I'm reviewing the reports, I see that there was an issue and a call was made, then I will often call the senior citizen also to try to follow up and see if I can answer any questions and really screen them a little more tightly or in depth about what's actually going on. And the other thing is people just ask for who can help them. So dispatch will put it through to my voicemail and then I'll return their call. I am only part-time, so the chances of catching me in the office are pretty slim, as most people who work with me know.
You're a busy gal.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot to be done. So a lot of community education and getting out there and working with people instead of sitting behind a desk. So.
And I want to make a comment too, as far as emergency pendants, you know, like the Lifeline, and I know there's tons of companies out there. I mean, there's a scam out there too that they call up and they say you get a free service for a month.
Right.
We need your credit card to ship it. You know, that's a big red flag, big red flag.
Yeah, telemarketing scams and frauds are huge, and electronic too. So I didn't really delve into that with repair fraud, but you could get requests for anything through email, through texting, through a phone call. If you don't know the person, if you had a big bad guy with scraggly hair, bare belly, hasn't showered or shaved in 5 or 6 days, come to your door and knock on your door and offer to do the same things that people who sound professional do, you'd look at him like he was insane and get off your property, I'm calling the police. So my question is, why aren't we doing that with everybody? If they're here doing door-to-door sales, if they're calling you, if they're online with you, if they're Facebooking you, using social media if you do that, you don't actually know who they are. So you should have the same red flags coming up. Now, I'm not saying be mean and cruel to them and scream and yell at them and throw brooms at them or whatever. I'm just saying, say no thank you, or I'll take your information, and after talking with my family, if I decide that this is something that we can't do ourselves, then yeah, maybe I'll give you a call because the quote's good. And so still be nice and kind to them, just don't be gullible.
Right, oh, really? Don't
Don't let them
vulnerable.
take advantage of you.
And don't say, I need to talk to my family who's out of town.
No.
Because they will really be persistent then.
Yeah. And you know, any little things that you can do to not to give out private information, like the minute you provide them your check, you've given them your routing number for the bank. And the minute you've given them your charge card, you've given them your name, your full name, your charge card, and your address, just so they can supposedly run that charge card. So you're giving out a lot of information to someone you don't know who they are on the other end of the phone. And I love this. We go into the schools and we do internet safety, you know, cyber safety for the kids. And the one officer, he is just hilarious. He is, you know, my age, so he's definitely not a teenager, but his Facebook page can have a picture of any of his friends when they were a teenager, and usually female. So he will put that picture up on the screen. He's like, hey, this person last night posted a new Facebook page. I have 300 and some friends. How many of you are friends with that person? And we will always see hands go up in the air. And this is in middle school. And then he will turn around, look at them, and say, nice to meet you. So he is not the little blonde with the curly hair holding the puppy in the bikini by the pool. He is someone my age in a police uniform or not, you know, depending on what he wears, and standing there going, and I'm male. So you do not know who's on the other end of that. They can say whatever they want to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, and you have to think along that lines. It's hard being so mistrusting.
And not everyone's going to be your friend. A stranger is not going to be your friend. So.
No, but they might be. So don't be mean and cruel. It might turn out to be okay. Just be smart about it. Take their name, take their phone number, their company name, and then call the Better Business Bureau to find out if they're legit. Go online and research them. If they're legit, they'll be there. You know, you just have to be smart about it.
Definitely. And another thing when you're talking about credit cards too, and I see this happening all the time. That's why I'm not a purse person. I do not take a purse with me. The other day I was at the pharmacy picking up drugs, and the lady was like talking to the pharmacist, but her purse was in the shopping cart. And Nick always says that. Don't ever leave that purse in the shopping cart because it could be gone like that.
Yes.
I mean, you don't think it's going to happen, but man, that person's going to say a purse. So I just said to her very politely, I said, ma'am, you know, take your purse. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. I'm so concerned about these drugs. And it's waiting to happen.
There's a lot of different cases that come through where purses have been stolen, which is, you don't realize what you have in your purse until your purse is stolen or you forget it.
Okay, Rebecca, we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to talk about all these other scams. So join us back. We're going to come back and talk more to Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Ed Zachary, Director and Service Officer for the Medina County Veteran Service Office. If you're a veteran or a widow of a veteran and you need assistance in filing a claim with the Department of Veterans Affairs, give us a call, 1-844-722-3800. That's 1-844-722-3800.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Welcome back to Golden Years. I am talking to Rebecca, and we are talking about senior scams. Okay, tell me about mail order medications. Are there any scams in those areas?
Yeah, think about how much you pay for your medications, and if your prescriptions are not covered anymore. I mean, sometimes a prescription for like 10 pills can be $150 or more. It's a huge industry out there. A lot of times people will start looking at mail order prescription and going into Canada or overseas to get those prescriptions.
So is Canada bad?
It can be. If they're not an FDA approved or somebody hasn't screened them, goes back to the just because you can't see them, you don't know what kind of company they are, what are they using in that product? Is it old prescriptions that aren't even active? They have active and inactive ingredients and they get old and they don't work as well. Is it that, or did they use ingredients that they weren't careful enough that it's actually going to poison you a little by little as you're using it? The FDA, as much as people don't like to have to deal with them, they do at least protect that for you. So if you're getting a prescription from a mail order place, and it's especially overseas, I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm saying check them out first.
You're bringing up a good point.
Yeah, just make sure that they are on the up and up, because they're going to use the cheapest, easiest way to do it. And it might even be something as simple as suspending things in mercury. We don't allow that in this country anymore, and we all know why. So, it poisons you. So be careful where you're getting them. The other thing is, just because they say who they are who they are, doesn't mean they are that company. So if you're just going to give your credit card information over again because you want to get these cheaper prescriptions, you got to think about who's getting that information and how is it going to be used. Because what if they aren't legitimate? So that would be the cautionary thing I would say about those prescriptions. I'm not saying don't use them, I'm saying be smart about it.
And that being said, when you made that comment, like if you get the phone call at home and so-and-so says, I'm coming out from company X, I need to talk to you about this and blah, blah, blah. It might sound real, but ask why. Why do you need to come to my house?
Right, and a lot of times they'll use your Medicaid, Medicare, CareSource, whatever kind of insurance that you're carrying, they'll use that as the in. They'll say you have a problem with your insurance. Well, we all don't want to have a problem with that insurance. I would highly encourage you, if you get that kind of call, take their name, take their company information, be kind to them, because what if they are legit? Then you really do want their help, and call the Office for Older Adults, because they are the gurus to go to. Their staff there are really awesome, and they will help you figure out what is a scam and what is legit. And they do troubleshooting on an individual basis. So I would really encourage you to utilize that free service. And it's not bad to utilize a service for help.
Oh,
it's okay.
really? Definitely.
It's the smart thing to do. And I just want everybody to be smart about their choices.
And Medicare and Medicaid is not going to be calling the senior and saying, we have a problem with this claim, blah, 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 I need more information. They're going to go back to the supplier or to the drugstore or where the equipment came from or anything else, because it's an open door.
Right.
And they're not your friend.
No, they are Medicaid and Medicare. They have specific things that they do and specific things they don't do. So a lot of times too, instead of saying they're with your insurance, they might say they're with the doctor's office, or they're with the hospital, or they're with the pharmacy that the hospital used, or the radiology department. You need to be cautious, and you need to take the information down and call them.
Exactly, yeah, call them back.
Call them back. And don't use the phone number necessarily they gave you, because they're going to give you the phone number that's the bad phone number to the bad guys.
Yeah. True.
And you see it on TV all the time, the call getting rerouted, and it's really fun to watch, but you don't think about that happening to you. It's easy with the click of a button with computers anymore. So you want to make sure that you're calling your doctor's office and saying, hey, this person from this company called me. Are they legit? Should I really be responding to them? And oftentimes they will tell you no. Don't even do that. And at that point, it really helps us if you give a call and you just let the police department know that has happened, because there may be some steps they can take to protect you, But also on our Facebook pages, we start posting things like that. If we start seeing a trend, because we're getting these calls from multiple people, that's a trend. So we need to respond to that trend, and we try to.
A call went out a couple months ago, didn't in
It did.
Brunswick?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was for, but I remember it was.
Yeah, I gave an
Beware.
alert or an update because they target by areas a lot of times. So it's not just you, it's your neighbor. So you might be the one thinking smart, but maybe your neighbor isn't so much. Or maybe your neighbor just had a loss and they're grieving that loss and they're just trying to get through the death of their loved one and deal with funerals and cemetery
Are there scams in
decisions.
funerals?
Yes. Well, and it's not really a scam or a fraud because you signed a contract and you made the choice that you made. But for instance, a lot of people want to get cremated because it saves space, it's good for the environment. You can have multiple plots all in the same area and the family can stay together, whatever your reasons are. But do you really need to be cremated in the cherry wood with all the brass and bronze on it? Or do you want to pay for the cardboard box and just be shown in the pretty coffin? I know it's a gruesome topic, but if you think about
It's life.
it, what if the cardboard box is $50? You think you're going to get that cherry coffin for $50? You're going to spend several thousand on that. So why burn it when you can just use one that's used for a model?
Really? Oh, yeah.
So you got to be cautious. Got to read all of your contracts. I always appreciate, like my mother-in-law, she has already made all her funeral arrangements. She has picked out what she wants. Now she picked it out 20 years ago. We need to go and make sure it's still available. So updating it is a good thing. And you got to make sure the funeral home is still there. You know, because it's a smaller family-owned funeral home. You never know. People retire.
True.
And if the kids
True.
don't take it over, they don't sell it. And if they did sell it, would the contract still be good? You know, there's a lot into that. So about every 10 or 15 years, you might want to review that. And as you get older, you want to keep an eye on that too. Just to make sure that your wishes can be taken care of, but it doesn't cause any extra grief or financial burden on your family, because your intent was, when you made these plans, to avoid that.
Because that's when they get you. When you're grieving, you want the best for mom.
Right. When you're grieving, you're being, you know, there's trauma that happens when you lose a loved one. Your brain, it's not going to retain information. So when you're having a crisis or a major incident you have to deal with, you're going to remember about 10% less often at the time of the incident. And it takes a while to come out of that. So you're getting information, tons of information, and you have to make your choices. And that's really hard if you don't have a neutral third party who's not being affected as much or in the same way. So you might have a cousin or an uncle or a third cousin or you know, an in-law of a sibling might be a little more capable at the time emotionally of reviewing information and making better choices. Because, you know, when you're a child who's lost their mother, there's that enhanced or heightened sense of loss and the enhanced trauma that you go through compared to maybe the wife of the person. So they'll still be traumatized, they'll still be in grief, but not at the same level.
Okay. You mentioned the fire victims,
Right.
And what happened. Okay, now, all of a sudden, donations, charity. You saw a lot of GoFundMe.
Oh, GoFundMe is a new one.
Is that a big scam?
You know,
or what?
the jury is out in my head about GoFundMe. I think if it's used responsibly, it's good. For instance, there was I don't remember the name of the group, but it was basically a mom support group, play group. They actually had a GoFundMe amongst their members. That's awesome. There's some accountability. They're clear on how they're going to use those funds. And the funds were transitioned over to St. Ambrose, who's doing a phenomenal job, by the way, of just really
Father Bob.
doing this disaster recovery. So it's been a pleasure working with them. But that's a trustworthy one because it's a group of people who know each other. I've got family members of other incidents that have set up GoFundMes, and they are generic in their presentation of the words. So maybe they're saying this is for family who are not able to work. Well, what happens is not all the money's given to the people who are actually in the fire. The person who set it up, which is like an uncle or somebody, is actually keeping the majority of the money because he decided he didn't need to work because it was such a bad trauma for that family, so he's trying to support them allegedly. So you have no control over
really?
something. There is no accountability. So you want to make sure, again, it goes back to be smart. If someone is putting a GoFundMe together and they're not from a legitimate organization that you've checked out or from someone that you know and it's not real clear, it's vague, then you might want to think twice. So it's again,
We just
be
have to be
smart.
aware of everything.
You do, yeah, you really do. You have to think a little differently than we used to in the past. I love watching the old Western movies because, you know, pretty much the bad guy was always in black, number one, and number two, they were obviously a bad guy, but most people, unless it was a con artist scheme, you could trust most people because that's how it used to be in the past.
In the past, but today's a whole different world.
And it's an electronic world. It's a much bigger world. So you could you could deal with people that you could ride your horse to in one day versus being able in 3 seconds talk to somebody 4,000, 5,000 miles away and look up their information.
It's scary. It's a scary world.
It can be, but it's a fun world too.
It is, but it's just too many changes.
I know. I'm beginning to feel that. When I was younger, it wasn't so much
Really,
of an issue.
too many challenges. And if I think it's a challenge, think of the elderly, the seniors who are lonely, and these people come appear at their door or answer the phone. They're there.
Right.
What advice can you leave my viewers?
The biggest,
advice.
The biggest thing is, never sign anything that's a blank, like a blank check for someone, a blank insurance contract, a blank anything. You need to read everything before you sign it, or have somebody that you trust read it with you.
And if they don't let you say, I need to have my son read this and come back to me, if they say no, you have to do it now, then that's another red flag.
Huge red flag, yeah. People who really care about you are going to want you to make the good decisions.
Right.
And they don't want to feel guilty that you made a decision that ends up not being a good decision. But the bad guys, they don't care. They want you to make the bad decision. Never ever give out any of your private information over the phone. Even like when you're online, if it does not say up in the corner for the website, if it does not have HTTP, the S means secure now. So that means that it's a secure website. So if you don't have that S on the end of the beginning of the website that you're at, don't even put any information in there. And if it's not a place that you are confident that it's a safe place to give that information, then why are you doing that?
True. Good point. Good point. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me this month. You are a wealth of information.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share this information.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us this month on Golden Years, and we'll see you next month.
When I started taking care of Mom, I didn't realize the challenge of playing so many roles. But above all, I'm still her daughter.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving. We're here to help.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. visit ncpc.org.